Welcome to the Inherent Identity Podcast, a place where you can learn the secrets to living as the best version of you. It's not about changing, it's not about becoming, it's about remembering. It's about recovering what you've always had within you, but you just keep getting distracted and you just keep forgetting. Join me, your host, Tyson Bradley, as we discover the practical steps for easily and effortlessly creating a lifestyle that lasts. Hello, everybody. So, update on the life is I recently baptized my 8-year-old daughter, and I gave a blessing to my son, who's 2 months old, and had family over. It's a crazy, awesome weekend, and here I am now to be able to speak to you about definitions, and specifically about a redefining of the word sin. So the thing about change, one of the beginning ways in which we can start to change our lives is by redefining things. Because every word that you have ever learned comes with it everything you've learned about the word. So when we think of the word sin, everything that you've learned about that word kind of comes to mind, and not just what you have learned with information or what you might find in the dictionary, but what you have learned from your experiences. So you may have gone to a church service and someone talks about sin and mentions judging another person in their example of sin, and you just barely had judged someone, or it was very tender for you right there, and now all of a sudden you associate yourself with sin, and sin is bad, and thus I am not worthy of love, I'm a horrible human, and down the road we go. So when we start to reassess and we start to go back and start to question everything that we've ever been taught concerning the words in which we know and the words in which we use to speak this language, then we open ourselves up to a little bit more freedom. We open ourselves up to seeing things differently. And I would say that this is definitely a kind of a change of thought type of experience. But what I think it can lead to is an experiential type of learning where all of a sudden, with the new definition in mind, you can now start to see the world differently and experience the world differently. So it was maybe a couple weeks ago. I was feeling pretty scattered with a lot of things that I wanted to do and get done. And just the idea and the thought of Christ and his atonement. And one of the things that I love about the word atonement is that when you split it up, it says at one meant. And I do believe that one of the major powers or aspects of the atonement is this whole idea of bringing things together, to be complete, to be whole, to be one. And there have been a number of experiences in my life where I feel as though that power, or at least when I start to connect with Christ, that I do become one with other people, myself, the things in my life. And I wanted to just kind of expand this concept that if sin does equal separation, that is one of the definitions of sin, where every time that we make a mistake or every time that we do something that we know we don't really want to do or isn't really what our inherent selves would do, what our godly selves would do, then we create separation. And if that's the truth, then, and Christ's power and part of his purpose is to bring everything into oneness, then it's like, okay, perfect pairing, right? And we see all throughout scriptures this idea of that this is what Christ is here for. He is here to bring unity and love and heal that which is broken. Even when you think about a cut on your skin, it's a separation of skin and healing, that mending, that bringing back together into wholeness. And it's amazing what our bodies can do with, a simple cut that just naturally, inherently heals itself, brings things back together, binds itself to each other. So I think that for me, when I was experiencing just scattered, what do I do with my time? And you might think about this too with your own time. If you feel like scattered, if you feel like everything is just so many things going on, that there is this way in which we can connect with Christ, and that through Christ we can be brought back into oneness, back into this unity of time and space, and and that He can help calm down and bring direction to our attention, direction into whatever we're trying to do with our time in our lives. And so, as I wrote down different notes, I just thought about all the aspects of where this could show up. And I thought, and when you think about it, anything that creates separation within you or within your relationships, and I want you to think about all relationships. So usually we just think about people, right? So your spouse, your kids, your extended family, your relationship with God. So now it's more spiritual. Your relationship with Christ, your relationship with heavenly parents. Now we can also consider the example that I just gave with time. There's a relationship you have with time, which is really just, you can think about it as just your thoughts about time and the way you interact with time, the way you experience time. That is a relationship. Same thing with money. These are large parts of our lives that if we don't take a moment to just consider, okay, what is my relationship with money? If my money was a person and I was in a relationship with them, what would it look like? And where is there a sense of separation? So when you think about anything that takes you out of harmony with money, time, people, it's like, this is separation. And Christ brings things together. He mends the relationships. He takes broken things, broken people, and he brings them together to create beautiful and complete, art and music or disjointed notes, and brings them together to create a song. And so the more in which we allow Christ into our lives, the more in which we can bring harmony to this disjointed life that we have and the disjointed relationships that we have with other people. So it was interesting as I was thinking about this. One of the questions, and this is something that I would just recommend you do right now as you're thinking about this and listening to this, is to be able to say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how united and connected do I feel with, now we can just fill in the blank. So with my spouse, how united and connected do I feel on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being, I feel amazing, complete, connected. We are one team. It's awesome. Everything's awesome. 1 being, it feels totally separate, disjointed, no harmony in anything that we do. In fact, it's almost like we're fighting against each other. There's battle, there's war, there's conflict. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how united and connected do you feel with your kids, with extended family, your siblings and parents, with money, with time, with your business or career, with your body and your health? So when you start thinking about these various categories, then you get a chance to just bring some awareness here, right? So if it's not a 10, then really the question is, what would need to happen to put it at a 10? What would need to happen to put your connection with your spouse at a 10? Connection with your business at a 10? Connection with yourself at a 10? And so I just want to share with you kind of an example of how this may apply, because recently, it was last week that I did a webinar. Okay. And just to show you how this concept of Christ bringing things into oneness can apply for you. In this webinar, so leading up to it, I had done all this advertising, and some of you may have attended and heard about it and learned about it. But the thing is, so I do all this stuff, and I had set apart some time before this call to finish up the webinar, to do some extra work, just to refine it, make sure it was ready to go, add the additional slides and things. And so a couple hours before, I'm working on it, I'm pondering it, and I'm feeling kind of disjointed about it and how I wanted to approach it. And feeling a little overwhelmed as well, because the time to go on stage is about to come, and here I am prepping things last minute, putting in the different aspects, putting in especially the end offer, and what I wanted to share with people as, hey, this is your chance to come in, and this is all the benefits you'll get, and this is why this offer is so amazing. So here's all the reasons. So I started applying some of the things that I had learned from my good friend Russell Brunson. And as I'm applying these things and also kind of having this inner battle of, I don't know, is this how I want to do it? I don't know. It just ended up taking a lot longer than I would have wanted. And now all of a sudden I'm butting up against the time that I need to just go live. So quite literally, I was working on the presentation up until the very point in which I was to go and click start. So truth revealed, guys, like, this is real. This is what happens to people sometimes. I'm being real with you, with everyone here. So I start the meeting maybe 1 minute, or maybe right at the mark of when it was to start, and people are already there, ready to go, and I just start going into the presentation, and like I was able to kind of get into a flow and kind of get into a rhythm, share my stories, because it's easy to be able to present when it's just your story, and that's a lesson for all you people that are in business. But when you're just sharing your story, man, it's so easy to just show up and to share. So I start sharing all the principles and things like that, but also in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I wish that there was a lot more new people here, not just people that I know that are already in my group, and this is just review for them. And so even amidst me presenting, I'm judging myself, right? And I think many of you probably get this. Like, you could see this unfold. And as I get to the end, it's like I realized I didn't even put the final price of the program on there. So I just had to tell them. And in the moment, it was just like, hey, I can't really do anything about this. I can just tell them and I can just roll with it, which is what I did. And it worked out just fine. And there were some people that joined, and it was awesome. I'm so glad that there are now more people into the Inherent Identity family. Welcome, if you're one of those people. And I just remember getting off, closing it all out. And as you can imagine, it was so easy to just start beating myself up, to just looking and seeing and noticing all the areas in which this didn't work out well, or didn't work out as I would have liked, and wasn't the best ideal experience. And so when we have expectations and then they're not met, that is kind of this gap in which the brain just capitalizes on and says, okay, let's just judge you because you didn't fulfill this ideal that you had pictured. So there I am, judging myself. And I remember just thinking, okay, I obviously don't want this. I don't want to be judging myself here. So I went to God in prayer. I started writing out just my feelings, kind of what was on my mind. And in a way, it was just like, so what do I do? What do I do here? And the response I got was, just be in my love. Tyson, I just want you to be. I just want you to experience my love right now. And so I sat there and I imagined and I envisioned, and I just was willing to open myself up to love. And I guess the way I might describe the experience was a overwhelming, a washing over, a full body um, vibrational warmth of love. It's hard to describe sometimes how I feel these things, but that's a go at it. So I feel this love, and I just be in it, bathe in it. And I can tell you that it probably was maybe, I don't know, 2 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes of me just being in this love, and afterwards feeling free, feeling like I could just move on. So when I tell you guys there's informational knowing and then there's experiential knowing, this is what I'm talking about. There is the knowledge that God loves you, and then there's the experience of God's love, of Christ's love. And I can tell you that I was in a experience of separation. So to bring this back to sin, right? I could say I was in sin, or I can say I was just I was separating myself from myself. I was in this experience of separation from love, from caring for myself, from for being there for myself. Because when you think about your best friends, and if they were to share, oh, I totally messed up, it's like there's no way that you would just rag on them and tell them how horrible they are. There's no way that you talk to them the way in which you might talk to a good friend or your favorite person. And I think we know this as an experience. We know this on an informational. It's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't talk to my friend like I would talk to myself. But to be able to experience that and to experience God's love in such a way that He brings me back into oneness. He brings me back into the truth of who I really am. Now, it's hard for you to experience that kind of love when you don't admit to heaven the truth of what you're experiencing and what you're going through. The same thing goes with your relationships with other people. If you are not willing to share the truth about what's going on for you, how you feel about the relationship, how you feel about things going on, and don't bring that truth to the surface, there's no way that the light and the love can dissolve it because it's buried. Trying to think of an analogy, but it's I don't know. Whether it's like a plant. It's like if you stay buried, then the light can't shine on you and help you to grow. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. But I just want you to kind of ask yourself, where am I experiencing separation? Back to that question on a scale of 1 to 10, how united and connected do you feel with your kids, with your body, with your career, with time, with money? Where is the separation with your extended family? And if it's not a 10, and the thing is, I don't think I'll ever be at a 10. I'll always be progressing. I'll always find ways in which my relationships with things and places and people can be more complete, more whole, more me, more connected. And thus the beauty of having this constant connection with Christ, because I need Him to be able to help me bring unity to these areas, to bring oneness with every aspect of my life. And He's going to do that through His love. Like the way or the method in which this will come about is through love. that is the healing balm. And so as I think about what would put it at a 10, what would put it at a 10 is love. What would put my relationship, my unity and connection with anything, with myself and with others, is love. What does love look like? And when I experience that love for time and for money, how do I have a loving relationship with money? What does that look like? It's then that we can start to see actions in which we can take. And this kind of goes back to the method, I am me, that framework that I shared. And you can listen to the details of that framework. But even this question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, what does a 10 look like? That's really a method of saying, okay, what is the ideal for you? And once you kind of get to this ideal and you start to ask yourself, okay, like if that's really the truth of what I want and who I really am, if that's the promised land that God has prepared for me, then what do I need to do to get there? And what's the next step? And immediately what's going to come to mind is ideas of ways in which you can start taking action towards creating unity. And I just want to maybe offer that, you might just pause for a moment. You sometimes we get giddy into getting into action, but I would offer that maybe you just pause and you connect with God in this. You connect with Christ in this, knowing that He is the one that brings things into wholeness, into oneness. And you use this time, you use your this kind of tool of bringing to awareness in this question to define, what really would bring me into oneness, and have it be a conversation with God. And I feel like that's kind of what we're doing. Well, at least that is definitely what we're doing within the Inherent Identity family. We are constantly bringing up the question and connection with God over every area of our life. And the more that we do that, the more He brings us into oneness with what is actually true about who we really are and what we really want. So if that is something that you desire, if you want to create this unity, you want to create this sense of oneness, and you are just feeling separation, you are feeling the weight of separation from God, from other people, from your relationship with your body, from your relationship with time and money, every aspect of your life, then I just invite you to go to inherentidentity.com, where you can sign up. Right now, our membership is actually closed. Our family is closed for enrollment. So it's like, you can't sign up to join the family. Real families don't work that way. It's like they're just, you're in it, you're born into it, and you can't change it. This is a little different. This family, we are have times in which you can come in and times when you can't. Right now is the time that you can't, but if you get on the list, then you'll know when you can and what's coming up, and latest and greatest insights and things that I have to share via email. So go there, check that out, because there are a number of things that are coming up that are pretty powerful and amazing, and we're super excited about. Some of those things being just all the various relationships in our life. So one thing that I never mentioned was this idea of sleep, for example. So I've done some expert interviews and other things like that, all on the topic of sleep. So if you want to create a one-ness, a amazing relationship with sleep in your life so that you can have all the energy that you desire, then that is something that is coming up in the Inherent Identity family as a, I guess, part of the program. It's part of what we're doing here. So we're trying to improve every aspect of our life and use identity and our inherent identities to step into that in a much easier and more enjoyable and refreshing way. And another one that will be coming up is this idea of self-love and a true and lasting and amazing connection with yourself. And if you can do this, if you can learn the skill and the habit of self-love, if you can walk in a newness of life where you truly do value yourself, I can promise you that you will change significantly in every area of your life, which is why it's one of the first habits that we're going to be talking about, or the first lifestyles, the first, newness of life thing that we're going to walk into. It's going to be amazing. So with that, everybody, have an amazing rest of your day. Know that separation it's a normal part of this life. We get separated from things, and Christ is the one that makes us whole. He is the one that will heal the separation. So come unto him. And if you need help with coming unto him, then I would highly recommend you sign up for inherentidentity.com, because people that come into here are building relationships with heaven that they have never experienced in all their lives. So that is the truth. And that is it, my friends. We will talk to you later. Love you all. We will see you. Hey, do you want to create your best life? Do you want to live into it? If that's you, I want you to come and check out inherentidentity.com. This is the place where you get to learn the easy and effortless way to living into your dreams. So once again, come check out inherentidentity.com. We'll see you there.